Hello, welcome to another video, and today's an interesting one where we're going to be discussing when something comes up in your life, how to sort of stay on track and not lose the plot, which I see this all the time, and many people go through this yo-yo sort of thing with their health and fitness all the time, and this is a good quote to sort of get you on, sort of keep in the back of your mind. It's a very sort of a cliche thing, but it is very true. So as long as you sort of learn the lessons of the things that get in your way, you'll always come out a bit better. So this point in time in the world at the moment, where something out of our control has sort of really sabotaged and derailed people's plans and the things that they wanted to do, especially with health and fitness. So and to be honest, these things are going to come up all the time. Maybe not necessarily a pandemic, but things in life, just it's inevitable that things are going to happen, and it's how you sort of roll with it and learn to stay on track as best as you can. That means that you don't sort of go backwards. And I'm going to share with you towards the end of this how I get around it myself, and there's examples here. So this is an injury that I suffered that really derailed me. So basically, like, we know that things are never perfect, and there's always something that can come up, and it could be, in this case, injury with me, but it could be stress from work, could be a good stress, could be like you change jobs, but that new job means you travel a distance, different, that sort of means you can't go to the gym you used to go to, or now you have to think of different ways of eating that sort of takes you out of where you were. Or it could be, in the case of this, like a pandemic. It could even be like childbirth, like a new kid in the family, never had that before, or say someone's died, like an older parent or grandparent or something, and the stress from that. And we see these things all the time, how they really sort of, people just stop their exercise. This is and again, another cliche thing, but this is what we sort of think everything's going to be like. We're starting here and we're going to get to there, but really it does look more like this. Like, it's never a smooth sailing. There's just so many things that can come up and just completely destroy what your best intentions were. So, for example, the coronavirus, I don't know how many people I've spoken to recently who've put on so much weight just because they can't do what they wanted to do before. They just were unable to sort of adapt to the situation, and that not necessarily with exercise. It could be just the fact that they're around food more often, and they just haven't really grasped a way to sort of be on top of things. So the game of life's always changing, and it always keeps going. There's no way you can ever time out. There's no way things are ever going to stay easy for long. So we know when it comes to life it's going to be that way. So it means you can't always be at the absolute best. You could have the best plan in the world, but it doesn't. The plan can never sort of anticipate the things that may come up in your life. And so when you know that change is inevitable, you've just got to try and understand that your health and fitness plans have to be you have to be able to adapt them and know what to do when things go wrong. So usually when things go wrong, people do one of two things. Either they try and push through, they just try and keep everything as almost trying to ignore the fact that things have changed in their life, and they're just trying to sort of stuff more things into their life, and eventually that's not a good plan, because something eventually is going to break. The second thing I see is, and this is the most common one, people just stop completely. I don't know how many times people say, I need to take a break from training for a while because I'm moving house, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, and they just completely stop everything. They don't just stop their training, they stop their eating well, they stop everything that they were doing before until things get back on track. Neither of these are a good strategy at all, because if they are going to send you backwards. So in this case, there's a person sort of going lazy, and this is the person who's just going to believe that they just need to crush everything and no pain, no gain. Both end up in a bad place. So, as I said many times already, this is the old Bear Grylls meme: improvise, adapt, overcome. So it's a bit of cliche-ish, but there's three sort of areas that you sort of got to focus on. Obviously, exercise is one, but the nutrition and the mental side are very important. And so often what I find is, if one, usually the exercise is sort of brought back down a level, because you just don't have as much energy because you've got this new stress in your life. That usually is sort of brought down, but the other ones have got to be increased. If one goes down, one must come up to counter it. So now I'm going to use an example of myself here. Back in 2016, I tore my ACL in my knee, and and it really derailed me. Like, I've had many injuries, but this one really knocked me for six, bigger than any other one in the past. And prior to this, I was working out a lot, and I had been playing sport for 30 years. Really had never had anything that knocked me out of action for more than probably 4 weeks, but this one was knocked me out for like 6 months at least. And I had to make some big adjustments, but not just with my exercise, but with my entire health, because my whole life revolved around sports and stuff, and now I could no longer do it. So mentally it was sort of crushing me. Food-wise, I had to sort of also change the way, because I wasn't doing as much as what I'd always been used to doing. So there's a lot of things I had to sort of really adapt. So as my exercise had to sort of really pull it down, and there's no way I could keep pushing through, which I sort of did for a while, and I ended up injuring my shoulder as well because of that. And this is even me, and I should know better, and I still fall into the trap. But luckily, I quickly sort of got on top of it and started becoming a bit wiser with what I was doing. But the point of this video is trying to show you not to make the same mistake I did. So this is where I'm going to show you how to sort of dial things up and dial things back. So if you look at this sort of graph, this sort of cycle, I suppose, 1 would be sort of like easy stuff. 7 would be the perfect week where everything's just crushing it and you can go do everything you want to do. And you can sort of see here, like, if let's say, where I was at the time when I injured my knee, I was probably about level 6, sometimes bordering level 7. If I had a big work week or something, I might back about 5, but I was probably always around about in between 6 and 7 for most of the time. When something like that big happens to me, obviously there's just no way I can work out like that anymore, and I was really for a few months just stuck here. So I had to sort of really scale things down, but the thing is, I never stopped training at all. All the time that I was using to do, so 60 minutes here, I would now be using 60 minutes to try and mobilize areas, improve my stability. So I just had a new focus. My focus was not about fitness, it was not even about strength. It was just about getting rid of pain, inflammation, learning to move again with confidence and without pain. So I didn't stop my training, I just changed it. As things evolved, I started to move forward into reintroducing some things, and then bringing an extra cardio thing, because that was always going to be the hardest thing. And then over time I started to move back up to here again, but things have come up in work that have sort of, so not injury based, just work stress that's completely derailed me. And my parents were sick for quite a while last year, and that for a few months, and I was visiting hospitals all the time. So again, that's took energy from me. So I probably wasn't quite down to here, but I wasn't definitely not up in this scale. I was more sort of scaling things back. All right. So now, with the exercise, I scaled things back. When things went bad, I actually probably scaled things up. So, and again, like this, for say someone who wants to change their, say things. You're moving house, or they've got a new stress, and in a perfect world you'd be doing your perfect plan. You've got all your meals done in advance, you're eating organic, you're doing everything that's the perfect sort of diet, everything's awesome. But all of these things take a lot of energy, mental energy, and when your mental energy is being used for something that's just come up in life that's just superior to this in every way. I know you shouldn't say that it's superior to health, but it's more an immediate stress. For example, like your parents being in hospital, and you're now having to sort of compromise a bit on the meals because you just don't have the time to do it because you're doing other things. But my point is, you don't just completely stop. All you've got to do is you just sort of scale things down. If things are getting too hard, you scale things down. In my case with the injury, I had more time to eat better, so I was actually really improving my diet because I had more time on it to do so than I was before. But in other cases, it's where people think, well, maybe I'm not doing all of the stuff I should be doing, but at least I'm probably eating protein with each meal. I'm doing this and doing that. All right, so you just sort of think, okay, and then when the stress is resolved, I'm going to start trying to do this more often, eliminating sugar again, which will take more effort. All right. The third part is the lifestyle stuff. So again, some of these, like this, should be done all the time. So hence it's a level 1. All the things are level 1 pretty. So water, sleeping, walking, all pretty simple stuff. All right. No screen time at night. It can be a bad habit to break. Weekly massage. The order of these can be different. All right. This is just to give you an idea of just sort of scaling it up and trying to. Each thing sort of takes a little bit more time, a little bit more effort to sort of put into practice. And obviously, a person in the perfect world will be doing all of these. So if you were 100% right, be doing all of these all of the time. Plus a few other things. I could add heaps more things if I wanted to, but just to give you an idea of how to sort of dial things up, dial things back when things are going wrong in your life or something's come up. All right. So how it works, I've sort of gone 1 to 7 just because 10 would have really jammed up the picture for you, but you try and think of things like 10 things in each one of a new exercise, what your exercise would look like, what your nutrition would look like, and what your lifestyle might look like. You just think, okay, and you just label them out 1 to 10. So if I've got a lot of time and energy and I'm feeling motivated, I'm going to try to scale things up to the 10. But if things are, really knocking me around, I'll just wind it back a little bit. And I'll just think, okay, what would my workout look like be if it was at level 5? What would my nutrition, the minimum that I would want if I'm a level 5? And so on and so on. And then basically it just helps you to sort of never stop with your exercise and your health, but just sort of adjusting what's right for the current situation at hand. All right, so they're quite a clever way of sort of staying on track, and this is where you'd never lose too much. So in my case with my knee injury, I definitely lost a bit of strength, but I gained things in other areas because I spent more time on them because I could. So when my knee started to come good, I actually could jump back into things, but I actually had more skills because I was working on other things in the meantime. So I just had a higher priority on other things, and it actually helped me to bounce back faster than ever. And this sort of leads me to one of the things with weight loss challenges, and people ask me why don't I do them a lot, and the reason is because it sort of sets people up into this all or nothing sort of type of thinking, where they just think all I need to do is do it for 12 weeks and then I just stop, which is just crazy. And this is why you see so many people put the weight back on. I don't like to have these challenges because the mindset behind it is a subconscious sabotage. It just sabotages the plans over the long term. There is never any stop. There's never time to any stop. If there is never any stop, why would I want to promote it as one? And a little quote down the bottom: it's one thing to know how to become healthy, but it's another thing completely to know how to stay there. And to be honest, I think that's what people are missing more than the getting fit. The getting fit's easier for them. It's just how they actually maintain it, and the stuff I've shown you here is how you maintain it. And we all know the person who's lost a lot of weight, only put it back on, and they keep doing it every year. They go and repeat maybe twice in a year even, these people always say to me, I know what I need to do to get in shape, and I said, no, you don't, because you only know the first part. You don't know the biggest part, which is actually how to stay there, because you've never learnt the lessons of how to sort of evolve, and whenever things come up in their life, they just pretty much stop what they're doing straight away, because that's how they've sort of learnt how to do it. Eventually their methods stop working, by the way, and that's usually when I meet them, is when their plans are no longer working at all. So most people think to get fit you've got to stick to tightly controlled, rigid rules all the time, but as I've shown you here, the rules constantly change because they have to. So at first they work, but that's assuming everything stays the same, and as we've said many times in this video, it never does. So what you don't build is the ability to get fit under the real life conditions. So That's why the rigid rules and stuff just never stick. And it's not because your motivation's not there, it's just because you didn't know how to adapt. So, and I always sort of say to people, what's going to be different the next time something comes up? You know, you've got to learn how to create that little wheel that we showed you before. So if you master the skill of adapting, or the art of adapting, you'll always stay in good shape forever. You'll never gain weight. You'll always stay in reasonable fitness. You might be better at certain times of the year, but your average level, base level, will be better than most people. Same with your nutrition. Everything will be pretty good all of the time, no matter how stressful things get. So achieving health and fitness, and especially fitness in the context of reality, is never perfect. We're all trying to do the best we can, and it's complicated. It gets messy, you know, and that's fine. Just we want to always be keeping moving forward, no matter what happens. You just can't. There's no time out, right? So you just can't sort of stop and start all the time. You just got to dial things back when things go bad, and then dial them back up when things are good. The key is just never stop. All right. So I hope this video sort of give you some ideas if things sort of come up like that, and how you can sort of, you know, stay pretty good all of the time. You know, people ask me, how do you stay like fit all the time? And that's pretty much how I do it. You know, I never really thought about it too hard before, but that's sort of a way that, you know, and ask any elite athlete, and it's the same thing. They just constantly sort of working on the other things while things aren't right, and when it's all good again, they go dial it up. All right. So if you want more information, check the description on the video. There's some good reports you can grab. You know, there's articles that I've put links to, and they'll have a lot more information, and you know, workout ideas, nutrition ideas, and that can help you to sort of create your dial. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one.